Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Contact Lost. Again, due to scheduling issues this time around, we've been out for a short while. Hopefully, that's not going to repeat itself. Today, we've got a little bit of a collaboration with the Try Hard team, where we're going to be discussing the recent ITT. So today, in the studio, we've got Sam and Danny, both of said Try Hard team.
Bonjour.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
I would also like to happily announce that Danny has agreed to become a show regular, so you'll be seeing his beautiful bold face more often on this channel from nowadays. And as always, a massive thank you to our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani, and all of you wonderful folks that have decided to become patrons and or YouTube members. Having that introduction out of the way, let's get straight to it. So, guys, the ITT, when was that? Why was that? What was it all about?
I'll let you test the waters there, Sam. Give us your best explanation.
It was last weekend. It was a 350 person team event, so 70 teams. It's a 5v5 format in Birmingham. I think there's 3 a year now in the UK, so they're really upping their game for the team events in the UK, although it is only 5v5 and the terrain format is UKTC. So we went there with a Try Hard team again, our first team, which is myself, Danny, and we have Chris Patterson, Josie, and Alex from the Try Hard.
Okay. And you've mentioned the UKTC terrain. So can you guys tell me a bit more about that? Because I think that last year at the ITT, when there was one, all the tables were the same. Is there now any differentiation on the tables for each respective game within the team pairings?
Yeah. So I think the biggest feedback that they had last year was the terrain was not very differentiated, which made a lot of the pairing systems kind of pointless with attacker, defender, etc. This year, what they've done is they've altered 2 ruins per table. So you've got a medium, which is just your normal table, and then they've altered one of the ruins. Like for example, on the Crucible, they brought the 2 middle ruins closer, so that you can hold an objective from behind the ruin. That's the heavy, and then on the light, all they've done is they've rotated the flank objectives a little bit to make it a bit more lighter, which it is good, but it's also kind of it's like the lowest effort quality someone could put in to do. We were kind of hoping that they do a little bit more to differentiate further. But they didn't. So we're happy that they did change some stuff, but honestly, in the future, it'd be nice if they put in a little bit more differentiation, because that obviously can impact list building, etc., etc.
Yeah, sure. So speaking of list building, the what did you take to the event in terms of your team composition, and why have you made those choices, not different ones? And did the UKTC terrain layouts affect them a lot rather than the usual stuff we play on WTC terrain?
Yeah, I think when you play UKTC, it's somewhat of a different meta to WTC because the tables are so different. It's much more just shooting alleys. There are spots from where you can sit in your deployment zone, like on Crucible, and shoot into your opponent's deployment zone. So those angles are big. It's also like the longboard edges are normally just you can see from one side to the other. So that's something to factor in with strat reserving stuff, etc. So it is somewhat of a meta change from WTC. However, there are lists that you'll see at WTC that will be in the UKTC events because they're still just good. The big one, I'd say, like the big changes here are like you'll see a lot more like Ironstorm lists with the Space Marines, and just a more focus on shooting and like a stat check armies as such. So that's something to consider when you go to UKTC events. The light boards this year were, I'd say, on Crucible and Dawn of War were very light. However, on the Search and Destroy mission, they were almost heavier than the mediums.
They actually were
orientated. Yeah, because how they were orientated, it made it heavier, which was odd. So there is definitely a play where you take an army that just wants the light board, and you hope that you win that first roll off for the table, and then you can just put the pressure on where there's no safe objectives basically in no man's land. In that regards, we took a 5-man team which consisted of Eldar. The Eldar was quite a tank skewish Eldar. It's not solely MSU, like it had I think it had a Warwalker with Bright Lances. It had 2 D cannons, a load of Scourges, Shadow Spectres for the fire and fade, because again, you need to keep your stuff safe on UKTC. So that was kind of the Eldar composition. It had Yvrain, so it was a mix. So it didn't have Wagon or anything. We had a Space Marines, which was Gladius. Alex was on Ironstorm before, but we weren't. That was at Alpine, and it wasn't really a full-out Ironstorm list. And with the model availability, he went for Gladius, so he had a bit of both with the Sword Brethren and the tanks. Myself was on Thousand Suns, so it was kind of the Liam list, Magnus, a couple lone disc sorcerers, and then
there's no kind of Sam. It was Liam's list.
Like,
right?
I've been innovating heavily. Okay, I have, and that was all my idea.
Change the enhancements between the 2 Infernal Masters around.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I had 30 cultists, so yeah, really innovating there. And then I think the other 2 lists were interesting. I'll let Danny go over his list, but the Josie's list, she's Necron main and always plays Necrons. She was playing Awakened Dynasty, but she had the Silent King. She had some destroyers, but a lot of heavy. I think it's the heavy Locust destroyers with the 6 of them with the Daka guns and 3 with the anti-tank. So that was quite a different list. But again, they're coming in from Strat Reserve. They're kind of abusing the UKTC terrain set, hoping to go into anti-infantry kind of lists. And then we had Danny's list, which I'd almost say is the most interesting out of the 5.
Yeah, so we wanted to take Orcs. Obviously, as we know, I've been picking Orcs up recently. However, we expected a lot of Orcs. A lot of Thousand Suns. So we wanted to build a list that can counter both and play into both. So I got so instead of going like the generic Green Tide with like 3 Pain Boys, we went the opposite route of going Green Tide that just hops around everywhere with Weird Boys. And then ultimately added in like 20, because it was so light, these tables in comparison to WTC, we added in 20 flash kits, which as everyone knows, everyone's like, oh, flash kits don't work anymore. No badge work, they don't do anything. And they really did well all weekend because they've got that shooting element. So it allowed the list as well to go into armies that picked up anti-infantry. Because you can, like, for example, I died a game against Necrons, and if I hadn't had flash kits, there was no way I'd kill the Amnitic destroyers, and I'd be tabled by turn 4. But they turn 2, as soon as they pop out, they pick them up, and we ran away with that game. So it was a good counter list that we played to counter Orcs, Thousand Suns, and anything that is really not anti-infantry, and it worked out really well, I think. So
okay. And did you think with that team composition, did you actually have anything that you felt was threatening to your team? Like a faction that you
like
didn't
England?
have an answer for?
I think actually at the time, I don't think we did it per se. I think we thought we covered every base, which, as you can see, we kind of, apart from maybe the second round, we kind of crushed every other round. But then we came into England, who came with high intense skews that we never really anticipated. Okay. And now we've learned a lesson, I would say. Okay. A big lesson. To the point where our Space Marine is now being forced to play. You know, we're evolving his list quite a lot at the minute as well.
Okay, so, fair enough.
And we are, yes, and our Necron, diehard Necron player is being slowly pushed to play something else as well. We won't say what, but we are working on adding more more army options to the team. So
yeah, I think it's quite interesting. That point is knowledge base for us, because when you go to an event, right, you're prepping for stuff, prepping for Thousand Suns. We all know that's good in the meta, but we actually have a large kind of gap in our knowledge, just as a 5-man composition within the Chaos side. Because, for example, like I only picked up Thousand Suns 2 or 3 weeks prior to the ITT. because obviously they're good. I was playing guard before, who are still decent, but we needed T Suns, and they give us like my matrix is like 3 or like is either yellow or green. Basically, I have very limited bad matchups, so that was the reasoning. But we had no real knowledge on Death Guard, CSM. Okay, this is pre-codex. This is index CSM, and just the other chaos kind of side of factions. So yeah, that was a miss part of the knowledge, which I don't know if we're going to cover when we cover the England game, we'll go through more, but that really cost us, I think, in the whole in the pairings, in playing the games, etc. That round.
Okay, so since we're already slowly referring to the games themselves, why don't we move on to that? So round 1, who did you guys end up playing into? What did they have? How did the pairings go? Maybe briefly about the games as well.
I shall get BCP up whilst Danny is thinking.
I can't remember the team name. Round 1s are always a bit dicey because you either get like there's always a mismatch, I would say. Because it's round 1, anything can happen. There's no set parameter built in order to match teams better. So I would say the opponents were lovely, but I think there was a bit of a skill gap, which obviously reflected in the points. Except Alex getting wolf jailed, which was fun.
That was the highlight of the weekend, almost.
That was the highlight of the weekend. Yes, he's joined a very long list of people that have been wolf jailed. So regarding pairings, this one was more. We brought a coach this year, more because it's also like it allows us to get the coach role allows us to bring more players from the wider team in, get experience in the team events so they can see it without fully having to deal with the pressure of trying to perform. But it also gives us more support as a team, being able to know where the team is performing, which kind of games at the time aren't performing, that we can sort of try and get points, which has actually worked out quite well for us. So we brought Felix with us to be a coach, and one of his roles was sort of to help Josie with the pairings.
I have the pairings here as well, if you're interested.
Yeah, but before we go into that, then did a lot of teams bring coaches? Because for a 5v5, I still think that's not necessarily that common.
I think if you look, if by like round 4 you look towards the top tables, I would say 75% have one.
Okay.
And I think if you wanna, they're not a must-have. I don't think you need one in order to. I like Ignite don't have one, but I think that's more because they've got, they're the best team at the minute, so they're not a must-have. But what they do bring is they help facilitate better communication in round. So when everyone's playing, it's kind of hard to communicate where scores are happening, if a table's doing worse than it was expecting. And it allows you to sort of like switch up your tactics mid game. So, for example, there were rounds where we weren't getting the right estimations in some tables, so Sam has to push for points.
Lick the stamp and send it, mate.
yes, he likes to lick his stamps. So the coach role allows us to identify what tables aren't working well, and then what tables are actually able to push. And we use that with a system that we give ourselves like an estimation of how our table is doing, and then the coach can look at all the estimations, then come over and sort of do a bit of calculations and say, actually, this table in this matchup can actually push harder, so they should push harder, and they'll come and communicate that, which was really helpful, I would say. I think it helps elevate your sort of like team camaraderie and team play to the next level.
Okay. Right, let's jump to the pairings of round 1 since Sam has found them.
Yes, so we played Warlords of Walsall, Omega, so maybe their second team. So Danny was paired into Drakari, Josie was our Necrons was into CSM, our Eldar was into Chaos Knights, my Thousand Sons was into Eldar, and Alex's Gladius was into Wolfjail. I don't know if Danny, you're at the top, if you want to go through your pairing into Drakari that round.
So Yeah, Drukari is not like the best team at the minute in the meta. There's not really a lot special to say. I thought my opponent played it decently. He had a lot of damage. Actually, that was quite good at taking out the Orc Green Tide. However, I think it's more a case of like a little bit of micro plays wasn't there, which just sort of allowed me to really push and pressure the board. But there's not really a lot of spicy, exciting details to say about this game. Drukari versus Orcs isn't exactly the it's not like a close game really. So.
Yeah, of course.
That
And
ended up
what
being a
about the
17-3, by
Matrix
the way.
itself?
What, sorry, Sam?
I was just saying that ended up being a 17-3, just so you guys.
Oh yeah, it was 17-3. Matrix for me was like a 4 out of 5. So it was on just above estimation.
Okay, and because you mentioned you won the game 17-3, so has the UKTC team events moved into WTC scoring?
Yes, they used WTC scoring. I think they originally used like win, draw, loss, but it's not very well designed.
Yeah, I think it was, and then there was a draw window of around 10 victory points last year. I think I'm not sure, to be honest.
So the draw bracket for this was the same as Alpine. So I think it's 56 for a win. So that was at this event, but prior, when we were in February, where we finished fourth, that it was actually just like I think 52 points for a win. And it messed up with the BCP, and it was too much hard work. And BCP is another thing entirely. But it's a much bigger win bracket this year, so you got to push for more points basically over the 5-man. So that is something to consider in a team comp, and that's another reason for having the Thousand Suns and the push armies available to us. So yeah, on that we had Necrons into CSM. That was quite a close game on the first round. Josie played into Vindicators with a Hellbrute and just some fast moving index shooting and charging CSM, but she kept it close. Our Eldar went into Chaos Knights, won that 17-3. It was an anti-tank list into Chaos Knights, 15 Scourges with Haywire, cannons, etc. As expected. I went to Eldar. It was an MSU Eldar with the cannons. It had the Falcon with Fire Dragons. Fuegan, he went first. That game I think it's maybe a little closer for the Eldar, I do think. However, like your striking Scorpions turn 1 charged my cultist screen, didn't even kill the cultists. And after that, I think I picked up his entire army, but 2 D cannons and Fuegan at the end of my turn 2, and I went second. So I played about 20 minutes of Warhammer that first round. And then Alex got put in Wolf Jail, which was the highlight of the round.
He's learned now.
No,
it's a rite of passage at this point.
Yeah, I've also lost to Wolf Jail. It happens. So no, to be honest, it was a nice change of pace for us basically, because the last 2 team events we've been to, the ITT in Feb, we had I think the highest or second highest strength of schedule, and Alpine we obviously played stat check round 1, so this is a nice change just to get us warmed up for round 2, which was arguably this was our second hardest round after England basically.
Okay, so and what was the final score of that game?
The final score for the team was 71-29.
Okay, so quite a margin.
Yeah,
that you've won by. All right, nice one. On to round 2. What happened there?
Round 2, we drew Vanguard Tactics, and that was their first team. It had a few names, obviously. I think you guys will recognize. It's Mike Porter on the Thousand Suns, Ben Jones on his Eldar, Stephen Box on Sisters, James Hobbs on Black Templars Ironstorm, and this one, interestingly, had 5 Gladiator Reapers, and Jake Harding on Bully Boys.
Okay. So how did the pairings go, and what were you looking at based on the estimations?
I think the pairings were going okay. I don't know exactly if I can get the matrix up here. I have a look, but we can see who went down as first defender. But there was it ended up being Orcs into Thousand Suns, So so it was a porter off basically.
Mm.
And then it was our Gladius into Eldar. And then it was Necrons into Sisters, Eldar into the Ironstorm, and myself into Bully Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just get
So
out
actually,
here.
2,000 Suns versus Orcs games.
Yes.
In the
Yeah, quite
Yeah,
different orc
sounds-
lists. But I'll touch on this in a minute. So we had as
Mhm.
first defender, we had our Alex as Space Marines. His matrix, it wasn't good. Basically, he had nothing above the draw, and the Ironstorm was a coin flip. So we thought first defender, let's get something that's in our matrix that's bad, get it out of the way. So he
And
ended up
punish him for suffering the wolf jail.
Yeah, we thought we'd punish him again, so we put him into the MSU Eldar of Ben Jones. That was the round one
Mhm.
pairing for us. Their first defender was T Suns. I can't remember what we offered into it, but they took Danny's Orcs, so that was the porter off. On the estimate, we have a 2, and a 2 means 4 to 7 points on WTC scoring. The mission was quite important on this one. It was Purge the Foe. So hold one, hold more, kill one, kill more. That's why I think Danny's matrix was slightly lower on this one, but I'll let Danny discuss that. Our second defender was Josie's Necrons, and their second defender was their Ironstorm. We picked Sisters, and they picked which is into Boxy, and then their second defender was Hobbs, James Hobbs with the Ironstorm, and they had a choice between myself or Chris. And I think this is where we won the round. It's because if they picked me into Ironstorm and Chris into Orcs, Chris doesn't really have the way to deal with Bully Boys, and it can become much more of a draw matchup. And the Ironstorm game is basically is a coin flip really, because I have to push into that. I don't want to take an attritional game. I can pick up maybe 4 to 5 tanks in a turn, but he can also hit me back hard. So I think that's where they lost the pairing, and they took the Eldar instead of me, and that gave me Bully Boys. And like, I love Bully Boys. I've got 30 cultists, I can screen that out. So I think we had the edge on the pairings, as we had 3 4s and 2 2s. So we were up on pairings by, on estimation, we were on for about a 64 round, roughly. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting choice on their side, I would say, in that second defender round, but that's just an outside opinion. And so, how did it go?
Danny, you want to start with the porter off?
Yeah, I'm muting myself. Didn't know how to mute then. Yeah, so the mission being posed as phone makes it like it's kind of hard for me to score points. I can try and score the primary, but with like a lot of the primaries in the open, all I'm realistically getting is not hold more, just hold. However, my opponent can get kill more, so they already have like an 8 point swing every turn. So that's why I had it as a 2, because like I win this matchup by bullying their primary and pushing them so they don't score as many secondaries and primary points. But obviously in this one, it's a bit different. However, we played. It was a very, very close, intense game. Probably my funnest game of the weekend, because it was, there was a lot of thinking, a lot of, I'd say, higher skill play. It ended 11-9 to me. Probably could have pushed about a 13, but like a little bit of like extra damage at his last round meant that I lost a couple more units that could have done my actions. But overall, tough game, but I really enjoyed it. So the whole point of it was to try and hold objectives and stop him pushing me without A, getting clapped by Magnus, because no one wants that. B, avoiding like serious Overwatch, and C, not allowing myself to be stuck on objectives all the time, so he can't just get the full rerolls to wound. However, he had 2 sorcerers on discs, so the sorcerers on disc kind of slowed me all game, which also meant there's not a lot of places to hide either, so you've got to use really good movement. So that's things like intertwine 2 units. So then when he shoots one, he can only really shoot one. If he shoots the other, I'm going to blood surge. And when I blood surge, that's how I then get onto objectives when I resurrect some of the dead models, which happened a couple of times to get me healed more. But then they die in Overwatch, etc. And you got to sort of rinse and repeat and do that. But yeah, it's a lot of game of just like playing very carefully, making sure I don't give him too many opportunities to just table me, whilst trying to push and kill them sorcerers as soon as they pop out with Overwatch and things like that. So quite aggressive play with the flash kits quite early as well. But yeah, it ended up as 11-9. It was quite a good, enjoyable, close game.
Okay, well done. And Sam, what about your game?
Yeah, it was Billy Boys. So Danny plays Orcs and has been playing a lot of Orcs. So I've had good practice into this one. With the T-Suns, it was something I was playing early. It's rough for the T-Suns, basically. Rough for the Billy Boys, sorry. I've got 30 coldest. I went first, pushed up, got my kill with Magnus, sat on 2 objectives, stayed out of his charge range because obviously I know when he was. So that was my turn 1. I've got 8 points. He's got no kill. Turn 2, he obviously has to war because otherwise I'm going to pick him up. The interesting point on turn 1 is I think I opened 2 trucks. Opening trucks is big for me because it means the Mega Knobs are out of their trucks. And by meaning they're out of the trucks, I can, with the Cabal rituals, I can either strip their save or I can doom bolt them, etc. I can start using the Cabal rituals on them or slowing them with my sorcerer. I only need 1 on disc, so turn 2, he was at the start of battle round. So now I'm like, you can have your top right objective and hold that. I'm going to stay out of your charge range on my home objective. I'm going to take this left-hand side of the board and make it my own. And I'm going to push my coldest up. So what I do is I advance a unit of coldest. I triple move them. So I move them again once and then again with the Lord of Forbidden Law. So I'm kind of wrapping all his stuff. He cannot move. Basically, get out his truck and that is it. He cannot move around. So he's outside of the 12-inch charge range onto my objectives, into my rubrics. I get my kills. And the thing is, I'm only giving him 1 unit, so he's going to get his kill. But I can pick off his assets here and there, his scoring pieces, his trucks, etc. And I'm still getting my kill 1, kill more. And I have to accept on this mission that I'm playing. He's getting hold 1 basically every turn. I was on a medium table, so they've got 2 very defensible objectives, basically, with big L's on them. So it's very hard to get around the back and push into them, which I'll go through my score, the reason for the 17-3 instead of 20-0 in a minute. Basically, I do that for 2 turns, and it's rather quick, right? I'm just pushing out coldest. He can't really move. He tries to push on the right flank, but there's nowhere to go. So he can either push out into the right flank, and this is again a UKTC thing. Between his top right objective and my home, there's no terrain effectively. So it's about 20-ish inches of open ground. So if he comes out there, even with the feel no pain, etc., I will kill a unit of Mega Knobs or Knobs. So he cannot do that. And then after turn 3, basically when he has no war, I just send it. So I have Magnus on his home objective. I strip 2 sets of saves on the Mega Knobs, so I just pick up all his Mega Knobs in 1 turn, except for I think there was a unit on the top right objective, and I'm all over the board. He's effectively tabled by 4. However, with the objectives being in the top right, he's always getting his hold 1. And I still do have a few cultists here and there. I can't keep everything safe at all times. He's got trucks. He can tank shock me. He can do a few things. He gets a couple kills. And he said to me after the game from turn 3 or turn 2, he realized that he's not winning this. He's below Matrix. He's just got to play for points. And he did that very well. He just went out, did actions when he could, deployed homers, etc. We both played tactical in that matchup. So it ended up, I think, being 160. So it was just on the cusp of an 18-2, but ended up 17-3 to me. And that game was over quickly. So I had quite a good view on the rest of the round with Felix, because I think we finished our game in about an hour. So which was nice. So we were on when I finished my game. I had a 4 in the Matrix. I got the 5, so I got a 17 plus. So we were up on the Matrix then. Everyone seemed to be performing on Matrix, so we were on for the win. and I think we were sitting at 64 points roughly. Felix had calculated for us for that round, and it was going well. Josie was into Boxy and getting her points there. Alex was under the bus this round, and it looked rough. And so what happened basically was Jonesy 16 forwards Alex. So that basically neutered my result. We're net 1 up at that point.
Yep.
And we've still got the other 3 games going. These all kind of go to time. Danny's finish, I think, slightly earlier than the rest. Danny gets 11-9, so we're now net 2 points up. However, Felix is going round, and it's gone from 64 to 63 to 62 to 60. It kept going down right to like the edge of the draw. Because I think a few things in Chris's game didn't go his way. He forgot to homers a couple times. There was, I think he went for a play to get his kill on a unit of scouts, and he thought there was 4 of them. There was 5. He killed 4, so he didn't get his kill. That meant that he left to go on an objective, so he lost a kill. So he didn't get kill 1. So it gave Hobbsy kill 1, kill more. It also gave, because the last scout was on an objective, it allowed Hobbsy to get hold 1, hold more, and a cleanse when he drew his secondaries. So it was a massive swing. And that was like, we could be in the shit here, basically. But luckily, as a team, we kind of pulled through. And I think this was our best round of the weekend. We kind of made up for it in other areas, because whenever you go to an event like this, people are going to make mistakes, kind of shit the bed in places. But as a team, we kind of pulled through that. Alex scraped points in the Eldar game, and everyone else just got those extra couple points, especially Danny. Danny was the big round swing here into the T-Suns, and that secured the round win for us, basically.
Nice one. So what was the final score in that case?
It was 56-44.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just massive difference. It's crushed them.
Yeah.
It's very close.
They never stood a chance. No, so it was a very, very close round. But we got the win, which was the important part. So yeah.
100%. Right, and the final round of the day?
Final round was into
Black Crow Green.
Yeah, I think these guys had like six teams here.
Was it probable cause we had? Probable crows we had.
We had 2 crows, 1 coop.
True crows, 1 coop. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So,
yeah, they had some cool names.
Yeah. So this was our round 3. I think this, again, it's a 350 person team event. There's 70 teams there. People are going to kind of duck and weave their way through things. I think they weren't expecting to be where they were at round 3, because I think there's only like 12 teams undefeated in round 3. So you'd normally expect, top teams up there. Not saying they weren't, but they themselves, I don't think, expected it. We paired well into this. I don't think it was really ever in question. There's not. I mean, the interesting thing, I played against Tau, and it was Kroot Horde. Basically all our matrices were 4 or above. The only one that wasn't was our Gladius, which was a drawish, and he went into Votan and got a 10-10. But all our other scores were, I think our Necrons got 11, and then everyone else was 16 plus on their wins for that round. So again, it was just, we got lucky there. We dodged some teams, and it made for a nice round 3, so we could focus on our round 4 for the morning.
Okay, so being on 3-0, that leaves how many teams? Like 8 on 3 wins?
I think it was 6. 6 teams, okay. Yeah. Because of the draws.
Draws. So that really does trickle down to just some of the more prominent teams. What was like your morale in the evening, and having known that? I mean, did you know leaving the venue already who you're playing in round 4, or does it take a bit longer than that for BCP to go through it and stuff?
We find out like when we were having dinner, I think. But morale-wise, we were like very happy with our performance.
Morale was awesome because we were sat at Nando's, okay, and Nando's can always make you happy. Except, yeah. So no, morale was good then.
Yeah.
Okay.
We beat VT, which was the big scalp for us. They're
Mhm.
they're a good team. I'd say they're almost like they're kind of on par with us. That kind of level. I think there's two teams at the event that are just above everyone else, which is England and Ignite. But we were very happy with our round into VT. So we were positive. Yeah, we were looking forward to around day 2 basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So who did you end up playing in the Sunday morning?
So Sunday morning we played South Wales Alliance. So South Wales is a mixture of their WTC teams and just I think some of the local players they're friends with. So a strong team. They know what they're doing. There's WTC players in there, so they have the experience of team events, etc. So and obviously there's only 6 teams left at this point. So everyone that's
Mhm.
got here has got here on merit. They've played very well. So we're in for a tough run to try and see if we can get through to the final or at least make round 5 undefeated. So yeah, that's where we were at for the Sunday morning. Whilst I'm here as well, I do have the pairings for us. They had just their team makeup for us was they had GSC with 40 acolytes and 60 neophytes. They had Canoptic Court, which was Josh Roberts' list effectively. They had a similar, very similar T Suns list to me, so they were copying me again, obviously, because I'm the best with them. They had Bully Boys. So this was an interesting thing actually. Throughout the weekend, I don't really see anyone else playing Green Tide, which was really interesting for us and worked a lot in our favour. Oh no, I like that they were on Index Orcs, but they weren't on Green Tide. So this is Index Orcs, so extra damage with Gaz, and then they had Grey Knights with the Canis, Libbies, a couple Terminators, and Dread Knights. So that was their team makeup. We didn't really have an answer for GSC. Like at best, we had a draw. I think it was somewhat unfamiliarity with the faction. Again, T Suns is rough for us. Like the game for me is a coin flip. Danny it was the only one with a 4 into that. Everyone else was, below a draw basically. Everyone on the team, however, wanted to play Index Orcs, and Canoptic Court was drawish for most people. I think myself and maybe Danny again wanted to play them more. And then there was Grey Knights, and this was the interesting thing for us, and this is how we paired. I played a lot of Grey Knights, and they had Libbies, and they had they had only one Terminator squad. So the Libbies for Grey Knights give a 4 at Feel No Pain against psychic attacks when they're leading a unit. So if you had 3 Libbies and like 30 Terminators or even 15 Terminators, that game turns into a draw because I just cannot kill him reliably. However, he's got Canis, he's got that the skew with all the Dread Knights, right, and he's got a couple of Libbies in there at Terminator squad. So on my matrix, which is very rare, I put a 5, so 17 plus. Like I genuinely thought I could 20-0 him, and there was a 4 if I didn't get table choice. So that was kind of our angle we were going into pairings for, because there was some 1s across the table, which in the 5-man we can avoid it, so we're going to avoid it because we just can't afford it. If we can get me into Grey Knights, I can push that, and it kind of takes the pressure off the team. So in that regards, we had our first defender was Danny, because we needed to protect him from the Grey Knights. With Canis, he just cannot go into that game. And I don't know what they attacked with, but they gave us their Orcs and something else, and we picked the Orcs because there's some interesting tech choices. I think Danny can go deeper as well, but with Boom Dackers, etc., it makes that matchup even better. And their first defender was GSC, and we gave our Eldar into them because our Eldar in this matchup had only a 4 into the Orcs, and everything else was a draw or below. So Chris was thrown under the bus this round. So that kind of allowed us though to kind of our strategy to get me into a good pairing, which is kind of the idea throughout the weekend with Thousand Suns. So I was second defender. They gave us a choice, and their second defender was Thousand Suns as well. So trying to get. They were also probably trying to do a similar thing to us. But that gave me the option of Grey Knights or Canoptic Court.
Mhm.
We didn't take Canoptic Court because they have the ability, even though I can kill them very quickly, I can table them. They have the ability just to sit off me and just not interact and get their points and play the mission that way.
Mhm.
And we obviously took Grey Knights. We had a 5 in the estimate. I had table choice, so it was looking good. And they took our Gladius into Thousand Suns, and then that left the Necron mirror. So we had 2 mirrors in this round, Orcs and Necrons.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's how we paired.
And how was that looking in terms of
So
score
we
estimation?
so we had 3 2s, 2 2s, sorry, and 2 4s. So that kind of neuters itself out.
Mhm.
And then, like I discussed, we had the 5 on me. So we were basically effectively net 20 points up on the matrix,
Okay.
because I thought I could get a 20-0. So that was the really important part of this round, of how we paired, at least anyway.
Now, why are you shaking your head, Danny?
Because no one should ever estimate 20. Oh, he'll learn this in time. He'll learn this.
No, you got to send it, and
Lick
but
that stamp and send it.
it was genuine. It was a 5-4. So, like, to be fair, like, if I didn't get table choice, basically, if you got a heavy board or something, like, I can't push as hard. So it was a 13 to 16. But I got table choice. I was confident that I could beat. Not even if I don't 20-0 it, if I can get 18 points in this game, it's a big swing for us.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how we played it anyway.
So how did that game go? Because I'm getting mixed signals from you.
It went to Matrix because I'm always right, as I tell Danny. I got the 20-0. So
Okay.
I went first. I crystalled straight away because he had a Calidus Assassin, so I don't want him making my rerolls more expensive. So
Mhm.
basically, I sacrificed a Sorcerer unit turn 1. I Doom bolted his Calidus, and then Doom bolted his Dread Knight, and put it down to, like, I think 4 wounds with the unit. But interestingly, the position they were in, like, they're still lone up 18. So that means he's got to pick stuff up and come with an 18. So he's kind of already over that side of the table to have to deal with them if he wants to.
Mhm.
And also, I think I picked up with Magnus a unit of Strike Brain. So I'm taking away his stickying, and I'm taking away his the battle tactic of vecting stuff.
Yep.
And just taking away his scoring elements. He reserved a lot. He reserved Canis, which I think he has to. He reserved, I think, 2 Dread Knights and Drago. Everything,
Mhm.
and maybe a Libby. It was literally just under 1,000 points, which we discussed afterwards. I think he should have started some uh, at least something else, another Dreadnought on the table, and put in reserve the Assassin, because even in reserve, I think it can vex stuff.
Yep.
So that was a mistake on his part. Which, again, I just have to take advantage of all the mistakes in this game to push for the 20-0.
Mhm.
So I picked up 2 units. His turn 1, he came back. He put the because he didn't want to move to trigger Overwatch on the Dread Knight because it was wounded. He didn't want to move the Dread Knight closer to me, and everything
Mhm.
else was like, it was on 9s, or it had to move closer to that unit. And obviously, they don't just want to go for that unit; they need to have some board presence, score some primaries, score some secondaries. So he's gone into me with a Paladin unit, with a Libby, a Dread
Mhm.
Knight, and I think he had another unit of something into me there. The interesting thing with this as well, all his attacks, like, he had side cannons, which I don't rate on the Terminators. So against psychic attacks for 1 CP, I can pop the Feel No Pain.
Yep.
So I've done that. He shot his basically what he can into me, and he's left the Sorcerer on 1 wound. And he interestingly drew Assassinate that round as well. So he's done that. He's gone for the charge, a 9-inch charge, because he didn't want to move the Dread Knight, which I think, because it was on objective, like, it's risky. But the turn before, like, even with, I think I Doom bolted it. It was on. I think it was left with 7 wounds. I think he could have risked the Overwatch because it's got a 2-up save.
Mhm.
A Flamers are wounding on 6s, right? It's still very swingy. It's 3D. It's 5d6 shots with Flamers in that unit because there's 2 hand Flamers.
Yep.
But it's still very swingy. So he didn't move the Dreadnought. He went for a 9. He re-rolled it. He failed it. So that kind of stuck him on secondaries there. He kept Assassinate. He did, and I think he scored his other objective. And he did. He's got no points turn 1. So I was already up big on points. My turn 2, I'm like, I've got to put the pressure on, but I have to put it on in the correct way because he has Drago. I think the Drago unit normally goes with the Terminators, but he correctly obviously put the Libby in this unit with the Terminators for that extra survivability. So I have to screen from Drago because if he gets into Magnus with Dev Wounds, he just kills him. Same with Canis. Like if he can then shoot Canis into Magnus and then charge him with Drago, like it's just a game. Like I cannot allow that. But I also I have to realize my role in this game is that I have to push and I have to push hard. So I'm on my 2 objectives. I've come out to the middle. I think turn 2, he puts a Dread Knight out to shoot something. But like this is the thing with Thousand Suns. If you put anything, and he was just touching an objective because he has to touch objectives to play the game, but he also wanted to shoot stuff. And he picked up, I think, a whole Rubric squad, but not the Infernal Master. I come out, I extend my range on my 2 damage Rubric squad with the Infernal Master in, and they kind of come out. I think they double move. They get within, I think, 24 of the Dread Knight, so I can extend my range. And the Infernal Master, after I've Doom Bolted, I either Doom Bolt or Strip Save, I can't recall. But after I do that, just the Infernal Master by himself in 1 activation kills the Dread Knight. So I think it was a Doom Bolt, and then the Infernal Master shooting with the 2 damage Death Wounds just picked up a Dread Knight by itself. And then my Sorcerer is still back alive by himself, so he still goes and Doom Bolts another Dread Knight to death. And then he's got like effectively end of my turn 2 before he's put his reserves in. He's got a 5-man Paladin squad with a Libby and a unit of Interceptors left on the board, and that's it. And he's on 1 objective. His turn 2, he comes in with Canis. He leaves Drago in reserve. He brings his other Libby in, and I think the other Dread Knight. I think there's 1 Dread Knight left at this point. And this is where like I'm just abusing like this matchup because I know it so well. He doesn't have the damage to like I basically at this point I've given him so many options. Like he cannot kill enough stuff for me not to hit him back, and I've kept Magnus safe. So he comes in. I think he picks up a squad, a Rubric squad, and the Lone Infernal Master, and clears most of my screen. But at this point, the game's kind of like Canis is out in the open. He's come in. I think he can touch the objective and strat reserve on this mission. So he's touching the objective because he needs to hold objectives. Libby comes into the backfield to do, I think, homers and get behind enemy lines for him. And then there's a Dread Knight running around and stuff on his home. At this point, again, I just strip the save on Canis. Magnus shoots him. The Infernal Master shoots him. 2 activations, I kill Canis. And then I just I just proceed basically to pick up the rest of his army. And then I send Magnus onto his home objective, and he's just sitting there fighting 5 Paladins and a Libby till the end of the game. He does die at the end of the game because Magnus still doesn't like mortal wounds and just the weight of dice. So Magnus dies turn 5, but at that point, like, you know, I've used him to his most potential because he's died. So, and he was denying primary there, you know, with the triple move. I think I triple moved him with his home. It's very hard to deny primary on UKTC with how the objectives are on Crucible. So it was like I just have to send it, and Magnus did that job, and I was just basically, I think he got 5 points on primary, or maybe 10 in the whole game. I finished 91-39, I believe, was the final score. So I was very happy with that round. But that was knowledge of the matchup really helped there because I'm on a new army. So that really helped myself in that pairing.
Thank you for that colourful, detailed, and very long description of trashing someone's 17-3.
20A.
20A, thank you.
Yeah.
We are all much better off from having listened to that.
Yeah. Oh, you know, it was crucial for him. You said he shouldn't have estimated 20-0, so you know he needs to put it out there that he brought the estimation.
Exactly as you asked, Danny. As I said, I would, Danny. So that put us in a very good place, basically, for the rest of the round, though. And I'll let Danny explain the rest, so I don't keep talking.
I don't know the rest of the games, if I'm honest. I went and had lunch after I played mine, but mine was a case of my opponent has played this game locally, I think, won it, and then thought this is a good matchup. It's not. A lot of people still tell me that Warhorde beats Green Tide. I don't think it does. I don't think anything in Orcs beats Green Tide. So I went first, and because I went first, I was like, okay, this is like one for me, because all I did is I have a big string of 20 boys from one side of the table to the other, and then at the end of that string of 20 boys, I have 2 trucks with flash kits in. So what does my opponent do? He has to charge 2 units to get rid of the 20 boys. By then, he's undertraded because it's 170 points to whatever. He's probably 200, 300 points. But I just kind of kept pushing that line up slowly, pushing up all the other blobs behind. And there's really nothing he could do. I held all the objectives in the middle. I've got 20 flash kits. He has none. So the second he comes out, it's UKTC, it's open. The second he pops his head out with too much, he gets shot by 20 flash kits and then charged by 4 other squads of boys in the war. And not in the war, sorry, but during the war, the war is more beneficial for him than it is for me. So all I needed to do was to keep that line of just 1 squad in front of him. He can crush me, collapse into me with the war, that's fine. But then after the war's over, he's dead. So it was just a case of I'm using positioning to movement blocking to beat him, and he couldn't really do anything about it. And I kind of felt sorry for him, if I'm honest. They were so adamant that they would win this matchup, and I was like, yeah, he couldn't. He was so happy when he got it, and I was like, oh, this is weird. And then it started, and after like 1 turn, I was like, what what are we doing? Like, why did you pair into this? This is designed to be the Orc mirror, and the reason for that is things like weird boys are really good at sniping characters, like really good. They also teleport, so you can teleport out of combat and then charge back in, so you get the fight first. They're obviously, it's also the mobility, but then you've got things like the boomdackers with the -1 a hit aura. When they're behind, because there's no shooting, Orcs don't tend to take shooting at the minute. So when they're behind that wall of boys, you want to charge the boys, you're going to be in the aura. So there's that. Then things like the flash kits, because they've not got no shooting, it just gives me a massive benefit on the matchup. So it was, he still scored some points because of like secondaries and whatnot. And I took assassination and homers, but it wasn't a close game by any standards, to be honest.
I think that's a weakness of a lot of Orcs, though, is the ability to clear screen. Because if they cannot clear screen, and it's just
everyone sees Orcs and like, I'm gonna take all the knobs, all the mega knobs, and no one takes like 30 boys. I take like 3 squads of 10 boys because they can just clear screens. And it's then what, math, 85 points that you've thrown away to clear 65 points or whatever, but the rest of your army can then trade up. But no one does this.
Yeah,
no one
if you're doing that with knobs or mega knobs, then you're undertrading significantly.
Exactly. And plus, boys, they have this. They might not kill all 20, but if you've got if you charge 2 squads of 10 boys into another squad of 10 boys, you're 20 boys. You're clearing most of that up. Just pure volume. So it's more that because he can deal with that line efficiently, there's just no way for him to keep. He just keeps bouncing off that line, and then I redo the line with another the wide jump across the line to reinforce it, push up, and it is what it is. I think hopefully they've learned a little bit more about how to tech into Orcs a bit better, Green Tide at least. So we'll see. But it was a good game nonetheless. The guy was a very positive, very happy, enjoyable person to play against.
And what was the score in that one?
17-3 for me, I believe.
So
I couldn't get them to.
Yeah, it was 17-3. Yeah.
I couldn't get them.
2 big wins already.
Yeah.
So how did the rest go?
I think we just we kind of just the trajectory of the matrix. We kind of just were all up on our matrix. It ended up being a 72-28 win to us. Josie also had the mirror and backed herself in it. And she got 18-2. Our Gladius into T-Suns, definitely, Alex just played for points and made him come and dig him out and got 9 points in that game. And then our Eldar got 8 points into GSC. So it ended up being rather comfortable in the end.
Oh, yeah. Very solid win. Well done. So 3 teams undefeated left.
Yes.
In round 5.
Yes. England, Ignite, and us.
Shockingly, Ignite for the third time in the tournament paired downwards. Not to say that they need it, but it would have been nice if they'd have taken on England and we'd have got the second Welsh team. Rather than us
submarine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've already let them know. But that's all the time we've got, so I guess we don't have to go into the England game. What a shame.
No, was it that bad?
No, it wasn't bad. I think it was a really good learning experience. So there's no expectation ever to beat England at this point. However, the opportunity to play against them and play against their list and see how they do pairings and things like that is what we want, right? Like that's the ultimate goal at this point. So we went in there and all right. So I will be the first person to say like a lot of the loss is my fault. So I didn't. I'll take 80% of the blame for my side. I didn't fully read the CSM list. So I didn't. So we paired. Like my teammates told me. So I asked them, "What do these tanks do?" Because I'm eating and whatnot and trying to. I'm more like I had a flight at 8 p.m. So I was trying to rush the entire team to get through this process, so I didn't miss my flight. So, which meant we kind of didn't spend as much time on doing the estimations as we usually would. We didn't do the care and due diligence that we usually would. So that's mostly on me. So when I'm asking my team about like the CSM list, and everyone's like, "Oh, these Vindicators or whatever are anti-tank, strength 14, D6 damage. Stop it, Sam."
Just to state the fact, they are anti-tank.
They are not anti-tank.
They kill tanks, but they also kill infantry.
Yeah. Fun fact: when I rocked up to my table, and I said to Chris, "You got a lovely anti-tank list." It's like anti-tank. This is an anti-infantry list. I was like, "Ooh." So, and it turns out it is actually because 3 tanks, I think it was 2 Vindicators and a Predator or something like that, did kill 20 boys in one go, turn 1. So I was like, okay, this is not looking good. I don't know. I don't really know how the other games went, except so. The pairings we didn't pair, we messed up the pairings essentially, and the reason for that is, as I've said, we didn't do the due diligence in the right time. I think this is a good learning curve to be like, right, before when we go to a tournament, we always make sure that we identify the top 5 teams and do all the estimations before, and then when you go to the table, you actually just sort of reaffirm your estimations after the last 4 games. So that's what we need to do going forward. So, but yeah, we did our pairing. Everyone made their estimations, and it turns out we were kind of wrong. They had some very, very skew lists that we didn't fully understand, which again is another good learning curve. So Chris got the mirror against Manny, got absolutely obliterated, 20-0. Alex played into Josh Roberts' Canoptic Court. I don't know who gave him the idea to push, but that was wrong, and he got obliterated 20-0. I went into the anti-infantry, so I think the last person to finish the game because I was really trying to not die very quickly. So I went into this anti-infantry list, and fair play. Chris played it really well. It was a very intense game. I managed to get 6 points out of that, which is like when I sort of assessed the situation once I found out actually it is an anti-infantry list. I was like, oh, we're looking at a 2 here, not like a 3 or a 4, whatever it is that I put down. But it was a good game. I enjoyed that. It was like a very well thought out 6 points. Then I think Josie had 6 points in her game against
Alex Harrison. With
Alex
Ironstorm.
Harrison's Ironstorm 9 body tank list.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sam can give a lovely, long, detailed visual description.
We've still got an hour left, right? And take an hour
Have
for
we?
this one. Yeah, no.
No.
This one was like Danny said. It was into Death Guard, and they were very skew. It wasn't Death Guard effectively. It was 3 Predators, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, 3 drones.
It wasn't skew. Tell them how many Plague Marines you ran.
0. Yeah, so
That's
it was
skew.
different. And again, I think this is where we came back to an earlier point: is just knowledge of matchups here. They had a lot of skews, and we just didn't understand it. We knew like the Eldar game, the mirror was going to be favored to the MSU, but it kind of just was a blowout. This one here, I lost the game in deployment effectively because he has 3 Playburst Crawlers and 3 Carnivores with the indirect Carnivore / Brigands Chaos Knights. He can just attrition me, and I didn't realize this basically till turn 2. And turn 2, it's too late in that game. He's already taken 2 rubric squads, cleared a load of chaff, and I'm not killing him quick enough. So basically, I had to send it there. I had to accept that he's going to kill 3, maybe 4 units of mine, but I can also pick up 5 units of him, and then Magnus is effectively invincible, and he can do it again, and then I can go and do it again. Magnus survived that game, and he basically was the only thing to kill stuff, and I picked up a couple of other things with my rubric, but I was way too passive in that game, and that ended up being a 13-7 to Nathan. And that was I think that was just a kind of how the round went for us. We just didn't understand exactly these matchups properly, and how our lists went into those matchups.
And what was the final score?
So
that's not important. That's not important.
So with the 220Os, it was 81-19. So it was yeah.
It was close. It was very close. It could
Very
have gone either way.
We kept him honest.
Yeah. I think
a real nail biter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going into like that kind of thing, it feels crap if you lose that intensely, but it's also the best thing that you can do is to get absolutely annihilated, because then you can there's a lot of lessons to learn. And they did go on to win it, so it's not like you've just lost against, like, I don't know, 10th place or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no shame in that. So yeah, I was kind of happy that we played them and happy that we got some lessons learned.
Okay,
Yes.
so at that point, it was the end for the majority of teams, right? There was just a round 6 final.
Yeah, between Ignite, Submarine Ignite, Yellow Submarine Ignite, and England.
And England went on to win that one and the whole event. But
They did.
So what are the tiebreakers? Did the result of the final matter for everyone else, or you already knew your final placing before that round 6 finished?
They don't do placings until after they give out awards and stuff, so they don't actually show, so we didn't know.
All right.
Which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, basically we go back into the 4-1 bracket with UKTC. So there's people on there with like 3 wins and 2 draws. So Scotland, for example, I think that was it. So that counts as like 1 point for a draw. So if they have 2 of them, it's 2 points, same as a win. So they were also in the 4-1 bracket. And the annoying thing with that basically was because the loss was so bad into England, we got pushed down on the points. We finished out in 7th place, one position below VT. But obviously, the thing is, like, it doesn't really matter. We know how we played. We were one of 3 teams undefeated by round 5, and we were very happy with that. I think there was a lot to learn in that England game, and it just shows the difference between, like, we've beaten VT there, who are a very strong team. Like, they've got Mike Porter on the team, etc. And then we go into England, and we just, they're another level, and it's kind of bridging that gap. And how do we make that score maybe into a draw next time, and really challenge them, so we're not just walked over in the future.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was a good event.
So you happy with the 7th place, or were you aiming higher? Or
I think after 1st and 2nd place, it's like the way I see it is you either go into round 5 undefeated and play against one of them that is going to top 2, and you lose, which ultimately means that you're most like 90% most likely going to drop down places because you played against the best. Or you can go to an event, dodge all of these teams, go 4-1 and score higher because you play against weaker teams to score the points. So for me, anything outside of first or second place is like, it's all the same. Sure, third place gets a trophy and that's nice. We've gotten 4th place before and had less, but then you don't get the experience of playing against England or Ignite, right? And that is, for me, the journey is more important than the destination at this point. So I'm happy that we played against the opponents that we did. We got the lessons that we did. I'm not happy that we're 7th, but like I say, anything outside of 1st and 2nd is just the same, right?
It's something with these big events. So, you know, there's 70 teams there. I think there was teams in the 4-1 bracket above us that, you know, they had like 97-point round wins, you know, so they dropped 3 points. You know, it's 3 WTC points in 5 games. Like it's hard, you know, so it's kind of like you got to kind of duck and weave to a certain extent, some teams, if you care about the placing so much. But I think that the real thing there was we were undefeated into round 5 with the 2 top teams, basically. And yeah, I think that was a positive to take away from the event.
Okay, well, congratulations on your good run in that case. Any final comments about the event, about anything in general? I know maybe you've got another team event lined up as Try Hard. Want to mention a little about that?
We've got Allies. We're taking an 8-man team to Allies of Convenience next weekend. So just over a week, which is the 8v8 in Wales. It's like a preliminary, like sort of practice ground for I think the Welsh team. So we're going to take.
I think the Danish are there as well. So there's a few WTC teams there.
Yeah. So we're going to take a team there with the goal to win that, realistically. And then there's the ITT again in November.
Yes, November.
So we've got a lot of practice and a lot of sort of building to do in order to go there. The goal there is to get that top 2 again, aim for top 2 again. No doubt, get some revenge on England. Maybe get Ignite this time. They'll keep dodging us, obviously. No. We'll see.
All right, some shade has been thrown in this episode. We love that. Always part of the Contactless shows. Right. Thanks, guys, for coming in and sharing your story with us here. Massive thank you again to our patrons and our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani. You can find their web pages in the video description below. Make sure to check them out. And as always, if you like what we do, please hit the subscribe button, like our posts, etc., and share them with your friends. And tune into our next episodes. For today, that was it. We've had Sam and Danny from Try Hard talking about the ITT. Thank you again, guys.
See you soon.
Take care.
Until next time. Bye-bye.